Audio on demand from Vision Christian Media.
Exploring faith and the future. Neil Johnson and Bible teacher Dr. Kameel Majdali.
Looking at some of the finer points of the differences between the way people think. Sometimes people fall to a progressive side, others to a conservative side when we think about the way that our nation is. And we're talking about culture wars, this battle between the left and the right. When we talk about the way that people are identified in that culture war, Kameel, those who are progressives perhaps identify differently to those who are conservatives. How do you make that differentiation? What makes it easier for us to understand?
Identity is a burning issue for people, especially younger people. For example, what does it mean to be Australian? Why am I on this planet? Who am I and where am I going? Identity is an important issue. But the two sides of the culture war view identity differently. To the one side, the progressives, the left-leaning, they look at identity politics, where people are identified by unchanging or seemingly unchanging outward behavior or outward identity, meaning their color, their race, their gender, their sexual orientation. And all these different categories have this sense of shared injustice, and they're fighting the injustice. So identity politics is very much a big thing on the left. For the right, or for the traditional values conservative, they view identity differently. They view it not in terms of gender or race as much as shared identity. For example, we're all Australians, or we're all Americans, or we are all Christians. We all belong to the body of Christ. These things take precedent over the more natural things. And for the conservative, they don't just go on what you are outwardly, but what you are inwardly. In other words, are you a man or woman of character? Remember the famous line from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s epic speech, I Have a Dream, where he spoke about his 4 children in the future. His dream was they wouldn't be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
So on one side, the conservative side, there is this idea of adjustment to be a part of a collective, whereas on this progressive side, there is a differentiation between the minorities and a reinforcement of their different individual status.
Yes, I believe that is correct. But one of the interesting things is for the identity politics proponents, where it has to do with race, gender, sexual orientation. Now, in all these areas, there has been progress, civil rights, equalization, all that has happened. But it is interesting, especially for those on the far left, the more progress that is made on these issues, they don't become happier. They apparently become angrier. Especially, for example, in feminism, as women progress so much more in society, the far left of the feminists get very angry. Or like with the Promise Keepers, when you had men dedicating themselves to be better husbands and fathers in a collective, filling the stadiums and repenting together. Apparently, the far left feminists were in a tizzy over men wanting to take care of their families. So the identity politics is a challenge, I believe, because instead of hitting the mark, we seem to be more divided than ever, and it's something we need to stop.
Faith and the Future with Neil Johnson and Dr. Kameel Majdali from Teach All Nations. Find articles, videos and podcasts from Dr. Kameel, plus today's and other episodes of Faith and the Future in the Vision app or at vision.org.au.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.